welcome to Freshly Served, the healthy vegan cooking show. I'm Heather, and tonight we're going to make a mushroom bolognese sauce, and you can use this over spaghetti, which is the traditional way, or you can try it over some whole grains, some millet, some rice, or even some sauteed vegetables. Some zucchini would be lovely. So what I'm going to show you is just the sauce, and we're going to start with the mushrooms. And I've got these mushrooms diced so that they're just little mushroom chunks. Now obviously you're not really going to fool anyone with them as an alternative to meat, but there's something a little bit reminiscent about meat with mushrooms. They've got a lot of nice nutrients in them, including a lot of potassium. Great. So I've got a pot heating up here, and this is the pot that I'm going to do the sauce in. All I'm going to do first is saute the mushrooms, the onions, and the garlic. Normally, onions will go in first, followed closely by the garlic. But with mushrooms, they go in first because they take the longest to cook, and they also use the most oil. So what you're going to do, once your pot is heated up, just put a small amount of oil in here. That's probably about a teaspoon. Mushrooms take up more than other vegetables. You're going to put them right in there. No need to heat the oil up before you get those in. The purpose of the oil is to coat the mushrooms, not the pan. So stir that in. And it looks like a lot right now, but these mushrooms are really going to shrink down. And I tried to think of how many mushrooms you would use. I had 12 mushrooms that were about that big. Can you see that? That big. And what I'm going to use for the sauce is a can of tomatoes. So, I don't know, I usually judge how much is in my bag, thinking about how big my can of tomatoes is. So, make sure they all get a little bit of oil on them. And then you want to leave them to cook. Okay, if you keep stirring them, they're not going to be able to cook. They cook by having contact with the bottom of the pot. So just let them hang out. You can dice up your onion and your garlic if you haven't done that already while they cook. So stir these mushrooms occasionally, and I'm at about 10 minutes here. And I'm not sure if you can see it through the glass on the film, but there's water here that's come out of the mushrooms. Okay, so that's the first stage of their cooking. They've shrunk down quite a bit if you've noticed, but they're not fully cooked. What we're waiting for is for them to reabsorb all that juice that they're giving off right now. So probably another 5 minutes here. Yes, mushrooms take a while to cook, especially when you have as much as I have in here. These guys have actually taken about 10 minutes here, but they have now reabsorbed their liquid. Some of it has probably evaporated, that's cool too. And they can cook a little bit more if you like. If you've got some picky mushroom eaters, cooking it more will make them a lot less noticeable, a lot tastier, better texture. What I'm going to do is throw the onion and garlic in right now. The mushrooms will get a little bit more of a chance to cook before I throw the tomatoes in, and they should be just perfect. Stirring occasionally. You're going to wait until the onions are nice and soft, and the mushrooms will have cooked a little bit more as well. And then you're going to add your seasoning. So I've got some oregano, beautiful for pasta sauce. And by the way, if you have someone, or if you yourself are very anti-mushroom, but you want to make a bolognese sauce, very easy, just use tempeh. Just take some tempeh, cube it, and put it in the tomato sauce when it's done. So you won't start with the mushrooms, you'll just start with the onions and the garlic and make a regular tomato sauce. So herbs are going in. This is some basil, and just give it a little squeeze between your fingers as it goes in. Really helps to bring out the flavor of these dried herbs. And last but not least, some marjoram. Oregano, basil, marjoram. They are my usual suspects for Italian sauces, especially with the tomatoes. So nice. Alright, so get those herbs stirred around. You want them to infuse into the oil with the onions and the mushrooms so that their flavor gets carried through the dish rather than just getting overpowered by the tomatoes, which is also why we saute the mushrooms and the onions before putting the tomatoes in, because it really helps to retain their flavor within the sauce rather than just being kind of a bland all over sauce. This way you get the flavor of the onion, the flavor of the mushroom, and then we're going to bring it all together, but it's going to be individual first so that their flavor really gets a chance to come out. Okay, so this just needs a couple minutes to come into the oil. Then I'm going to put a little bit of salt on here. And every good Bolognese sauce has a little bit of wine. I never seem to have red wine on hand, and I can't justify buying it for just this little bit that I use it. So I'm using white, but red, much better. Pour it on there, let it sizzle, and it's going to bring up all the flavor that might have been stuck to the bottom of your pot. Smells nice too. And you can also take this excuse to pour yourself a glass while you wait for this sauce to finish cooking. Because all we're going to do next is put the tomatoes in here, perhaps add a little bit more salt, and then let it simmer. And you want to let this simmer as long as you can while you go off and enjoy yourself while you wait for dinner to get together. Now I usually go with diced or whole tomatoes from a can. And yes, I'm using canned tomatoes because it's winter. I don't like to use the cans of tomato sauce. I just don't like the texture of them. There's nothing really bad about them. I just don't like the texture. So I've got some whole tomatoes in here, and all I'm doing is just breaking those whole tomatoes up with my spoon here. And then it's nice because you get some chunks of tomato. My favorite is diced, but for some reason the store didn't have any diced. Just the whole. You can also cut these before you put them in if you prefer. But I definitely like the texture better than those sauces in a can. So like I said, probably just add a little bit more salt for the tomatoes. And then you can let this simmer. And the longer you let a tomato sauce simmer, the more the flavors are going to come together, and the more the flavor is going to come out of those herbs and things. So let this simmer. Then you want to cook some noodles separately. Whole grain noodles will take about 10 minutes to cook once the water is boiling, and you're ready to go. So I hope you enjoy. You can find this recipe at healthyveganrecipes.net. I'm Heather, and this is Freshly Served.